Today, on this very special episode of the ChillPoint anime, it's ChillPoint!
That made a massive mess.
Oh, I'm sad that it wasn't on camera.
I think Beach just wanted an excuse to get out.
Yeah, it's the beach episode. ChillPoint is the checkpoint, the beach episode of the ChillPoint anime that doesn't exist.
Oh, I thought we were calling it the beach episode. Sorry.
I mean,
Oh,
it's just basically
also that.
Yes.
if we have, if we got some snacks, we could do the I don't know, the study session episode.
Ooh, yeah, that's
Where
true.
we all don't really study, but we pretend we might.
I don't know enough
Or do
anime
school
tropes
homework
to
or
know
something.
to know the other episode types other than like the beach or the hot springs episode.
There's
Well,
like,
Paul, we've got 2
there's
hours.
like the school festival. That could be really fun.
Yeah.
Right? That would be
Honestly.
That's good for an arc also, too. You can do like
Yeah.
a 2 or 3 episode arc on
And
that.
it depends on, you can do just like the standard school festival where everyone does like maybe a maid cafe or something and then like a play or whatever. Or we could do the sports festival, which we basically kind of have done for Loading Ready Live bits. Wow, it's still so wet.
Yep. Plastic doesn't dry. It just stays wet forever.
And then there's the seasonal episodes. So you have like Christmas, which is more of a date thing in Japan, and New Year's, which is more of a family, friends, let's go visit the shrine, see the first sunrise kind of thing.
Oh,
Stay
yeah.
up late and eat special food.
There's so much baked into what you're supposed to do in New Year's. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Valentine's and White Day, where
Right.
those things like there's lots you can do.
Yeah, you can always build an entire anime over just what are all the special events that happen throughout the entire year.
Yeah, it's like real life.
I do like that. I would say 2/3 of the YouTube comments are speculation on either agreeing that there should be a ChillPoint anime
Oh, God.
or speculation about what the ChillPoint anime would be like.
Oh well, I assume it'd be like Shirobako, which is a show that's about making anime.
Yes.
So it'd be a show about making ChillPoint.
Right.
And the writing, trying to get the show, very little of the actual show itself being shown.
Right. I mean, that's
Behind the
that's the
scenes
common
anime
thing. Like
stuff.
you never actually
Yeah.
show the show in the show.
No, that's boring.
Yeah.
No one would want to watch ChillPoint.
Would you make it like cute girls doing cute things so that it's just all like 4 or 5 girls sitting in rooms just
Yes,
talking about
I
video
want to
game news?
see. I want to see
Except you and
ChillPoint.
Graham are the cute girls.
Yeah.
We'd
Is
have
that
to
what
be
you're
cute
saying?
girls, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah,
at that
no,
point.
I'm up for this. I want
Alright.
to. We might as well do a gender swap role.
We may have to do some casting adjustments.
That's fair. What I mean, anytime you make a show, there's always some considerations that you have to make about like, well, how do we adapt this to make this even more
Are you
interesting?
saying that Beach and Graham can't pull off cute girl?
I'm saying it would be a stretch.
But stretching is good for actors.
Yeah, I should stretch every day, and I don't. Yeah.
That's not a great.
Hey, it's dry.
It's June. It's time for you to make some New Year's resolutions for the rest of the year.
That's right.
Stretching.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we occasionally talk about video game news in between other stuff. And today we're talking about week's video game news as well as the episode of ChillPoint that went up yesterday.
I think we can skip some of the things in the ChillPoint episode, to be honest.
Oh,
Well, I'm thinking the Marvel Snap one because
We might not be able to lend anything to that.
I feel like we covered it pretty
let's let
carefully.
I think we basically covered the Mind's Eye one the week before.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't think we have to do that one.
All right. Well,
And then
If we do this,
no, you see, if I keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
I can make the
Okay.
entire episode go away.
the whole episode go away.
What was?
It turns out that everything we do is pointless.
Beach's
Ultimately.
30th anniversary story is a repeat of 2 older stories, so we don't need to do those again.
Yeah.
But this one you get
And-
free stuff.
There's that. I guess we should mention that. But in Nelson's story, well, actually, Nelson's story has a nice little kernel of
Okay,
meat
Nelson's
to
one
it,
is
so-
harder to skip.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you want? What do you want to talk about, Paul?
I'm kidding.
let's
we can
talk
go
about the
through.
whole
We can go
episode.
through everything.
No.
I just,
I mean,
I've made some very key points.
You bring up a good point. I mean, although I will say the thing that I most enjoyed about the Sonic story, about the Sega Forever,
Oh yeah.
which I feel like that's just asking for trouble to name your new thing.
It'd be one thing if the company itself had shut down. It's like we couldn't sustain it forever, and it's like that's one thing. But you were just like in 2023, you're like, this isn't making us any actual money.
I want somebody to come out and be like, so it turns out forever's a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did some looking into it, and it turns out forever is like so long.
Yeah, I was only paying attention during the staff meeting, and I heard the word 4, and I thought we meant like 4 years, not forever.
Sega 4 years.
It just doesn't work as well.
No. Is that yes? Okay. I actually kind of want to show this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna the ad.
Get through the ad.
So, the Sega Forever launch trailer, which came out 7 years ago. So 7 years. That's almost forever.
That is a long time for a mobile.
That was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so then you can like add 20 years in there.
yeah.
It's like 30 years ago.
The first thing I like about this is the comments, of course, because a bunch of these comments were put in. So, as we said, I think you said in the story, this isn't the first time that Sega has removed a whole bunch of games
It is not.
of their classic games. In fact, they removed a bunch of other ones at the end of 2024
Exactly.
that were on Steam.
Yes.
And then this is now removing mobile games. So of course, people in the comments are like, this aged like milk, blah blah blah.
Yep.
But
Oh,
the
people
more
love
important
that saying.
the more important thing is I regardless of whether it was forever or not,
Yep.
I do want to say that this was kind of a great
It was such a good ad.
this is like this great 90s video game ad throwback.
Yep. It's so great. I was like, oh, I remember being this young. Yeah.
See, he's sucking up all the stuff and putting it into the games.
It's becoming little pixels and shit.
It's so, yeah. It came out in what, 2018?
And now you have Sonic and Knuckles showing up in ads for Apple Arcade.
Yep.
I know, it goes on.
Segata Sashiro.
Yeah, that was great. I love that moment.
I feel like these names are probably all relevant to something. But of course, Segata Sashiro would be winning.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway.
I feel like most of these effects they would have had a hard time actually making happen the way they'd wanted to in the 90s too. But yeah, the classic
Welcome to the
Genesis
next
thing.
level.
And then the absolutely crazed look on this guy's face.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I enjoyed that commercial.
That was definitely.
And it isn't the fault of the people who made the commercial that it wasn't forever.
No, it's true.
No, I mean, PR is not generally at fault for.
They were
things.
probably told it was supposed to be forever.
It's funny, like, clearly, from the business perspective, obviously, if you're going to put development time into because this was not supposed to be an emulation exercise. This is supposed to be your ports, right? And they sucked for a while. Like it took a couple of years until they'd actually worked out like frame rate issues and all these other kind of things, and they were able to give people updates and be like, hey, look, the games are better now. But at that point, it's like Mind's Eye, right? It's like it doesn't matter how good maybe the bones of this game was, or that anyone was talking about. It's like the actual finished thing. If you're sitting down and trying to play it and just feels unplayable, you've lost most of your audience. Like people do not want to come back to that. So that they should have. They're launching games they already launched that were working properly, and the fact that they weren't working properly on release for mobile just meant, I'm sure, that people were like, well, these are just going to suck regardless. So that might have been what actually sealed their fate for multiple years. Can't say for sure, but
I mean, also they're re-releasing games that everybody's played many, many times before.
Yeah, like Heather sat down the other day and played Little Super Monkey Ball, I think, on her phone.
Well, I downloaded it because I was like, that's the only one that I might try to play on a phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fine.
That's another aspect, is that Sonic is not a fun game to play on a phone. Like, it requires kind of precision
Monkey Ball's all tilt controls.
controlling.
Yeah.
That's
like
like what I mean
that
when I
kinda
say
works,
it
yeah.
feels like it works on a phone, because it is just about tilting your phone around.
Yeah.
Every other game looked like I'd probably have to pretend that there were buttons.
Yeah, I don't know how you play Crazy Taxi by moving your phone around.
It's probably just like on-screen controls.
Yeah, they all support controllers too, and
Yeah.
so
Sure.
It really feels to me like this was clearly based around the NSO type thing. That when Nintendo is showing off that it's like, we're going to bring all of our stuff off the Virtual Console and we're going to put it on to the Switch through this online service that you're going to pay for, and you're going to just get the bulk of this stuff for free.
This
And
commercial was 7 years ago.
Yeah, 2018.
I'd say that's just what subscription kind of services we're turning into at the time.
Sure, but I mean, if for this to be like, rather than try to sell the Sega Genesis Mini or that kind of idea,
Which I think they've also done.
which they have done. I mean, in Japan, like you can buy the Sega Game Gear Minis as well, and like they come
Yeah.
with games on them. And but what I'm saying is like, I feel like this was like a push for like, well, wait, we should also be getting our games out everywhere, and we're not doing that, so let's do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a subscription-based thing, because everybody was doing this. Capcom's doing it and Konami's doing it, and like everybody's like making their own like game collections available and being like, you can buy this here and it's $50. And Sega already did that with Sega Genesis Classics, where it was like, I don't know how many games it was, but it was a lot of games that you could buy just that as a game to exist somewhere. And I'm like, I wonder if people would prefer it being more part of a subscription service. Like if you subscribe to Xbox Live, or you have Sony PlayStation, whatever, that if it's like, oh, we have the selection of Sega games that you can play, like you can do on NSO as well.
But like PlayStation has like the classics catalog or whatever on one of the tiers. I'm never sure.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they, the games are out there, if they sort of hook them up to one of the classics catalogs. Because, everybody's got something like that.
And maybe that's a better means of doing it, to be like, this is just a thing that people are already paying money into. So you get yourself set up with a company that's already doing subscription gaming, and you're like, these are now part of the thing as well, and you can just have access to this. And Sega gets their, reliable cut of, because that's really what this is about, is you want a reliable cut of money from being able to put your old retro games up again. You don't want to have to feel like that you need to. I wouldn't want to feel like I have to work hard to make everything go onto a platform and have to resell it over and over and over again to try to catch new eyes all the time. I'd rather just be like, this just exists in a place and we don't have to do much other than minor maintenance on the idea and just leave it at that.
I mean, in the case of mobile stuff, there is a thing where, as OS updates and stuff happen, you do have to do maintenance on these games in order to keep them working. But anyway,
not doing that anymore.
Seems like an Apple Arcade situation, right? Kind of perfect to be like, we'll just sell you all of our games that you can put them in Apple Arcade, and then you can look after making sure that they get updated all the time.
I don't know how much money anyone makes off of Apple Arcade, because I like the idea of Apple Arcade, because generally there's no ads and there's no whatevers, which sometimes just means you get a game that feels like it's supposed to have ads that they've cut out.
That is
Yes.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of odd. Or the grind system's still there, but it's free.
Or sometimes you get threes, and it's like, I could have paid $4 for this game, but instead I get it for free. But I could have paid $4 for it rather than paying for it every month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, that's the thing. Sometimes you just want the one game.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, like
subscription
Balatro.
services are great for trying stuff out. That's why people like Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
They can try out a bunch of stuff. It's especially great if you're not into like wanting to keep your games forever.
Yeah. If you
There
just
are
want to
people
like,
who are not like that.
but especially there's a lot of games that you just sort of play it. You can go through it and sort of that was a good experience. I am done with it now. I don't need to like have that game preserved for me for all eternity so I can go back to it.
Yeah, but sometimes you do. And if your games are only available on a subscription service, then you run into that problem with Netflix and other TV broadcasting places where
Yeah.
they make stuff. It's only available on their service. You watch it, and then if there is like that one show you'd like a copy of, well, you can't have that.
And it might randomly
Legally.
randomly
And they might just
disappear at
decide,
some
yeah,
point.
it just that it's gone now.
Anyway, the takeaway from this story is even if you have just like a passing interest in any of these games, you might as well grab them. They're free right now.
And they will probably go away, but we can't say that for sure.
They'll probably go away. Also, apparently, according to the comments on this episode, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 was big poopies.
That's why.
That's
Okay.
never-
Episode 2 wasn't great, but it was at least like
There's more.
good.
Like,
It was
something-
like reasonable.
Sounds familiar.
Whereas
Okay.
Episode 1 was terrible.
I do want to point out that just because a game is bad has never stopped Sonic or Sega from re-releasing or putting things out for free in other
You're-
places.
I name one other bad Sonic game. I mean, really.
Sonic Forces.
Okay. Name 5.
Oh, yeah.
Let me get the Wikipedia list.
Sonic the
'cause it's
Hedgehog,
like half
Sonic
of
the
them.
Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog.
All right.
That's your fault. You set the bar too low.
And yeah, as Heather said, we probably don't need to delve too much more into Mind's Eye. Although I did see an article that it was basically like because they didn't release Mind's Eye, they didn't give out review copies.
Yeah.
So reviewers got it at the same time as the regular public got it, and people are playing through it, and so basically the gist of the article was as more reviewers play through it, its Metacritic rating is going down.
Oh, wow. People are being driven to give reviews. That's what that means, right? Wow. Okay.
So
yeah. Well,
anyway,
I mean, not giving out a review copy it's not always that the game is bad. It's just suspicious that the
not a
game
good sign,
is
yeah.
probably not great, and they're hoping that people will just buy it day one without reading reviews because they don't expect it to go over. Is kind of the idea with that. And then I think what probably hurts it more is the fact that a bunch of people now know that there are streamers with sponsored streams where it just got cut before they even
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
like. To me, I just feel bad for their PR department because I'm sure it's some person who's like, all right, we've got everything ready to go, and fuck. And they're just running around and having a really bad day.
Yeah.
yeah, and then like that late at night, some directive came down to cancel the whole thing, and then they had to do
Well, pause, I think, was what was going on, right? Like they were saying we have to pause your sponsored stream, because I'm sure
Right.
what that was a reaction from PR being like, "Are you out of your mind? We can't contact all these people, the dozens or hundreds or whatever. We can't contact them all and say we're canceling your stream. That might put us in breach of contract because they signed a thing saying they were going to do it, and if we tell them now don't do it, we might have to pay them all."
Well, or I think it's more, we can't tell these people to cancel their stream. They are doing it right now. Did you
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
It's like, this is when it was scheduled to happen.
Yeah.
It's already happened. Like, it is in process now.
Yeah. How do you
The
how
time for canceling has passed.
how do we approach this, and to be able to say that to go in, like, to contact a bunch of people and be like, you need to pause this, is more them being like, we need a few minutes to think about how we're going to address this problem from the
Well,
PR perspective.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, it's going to be. They probably still want to do sponsored streams. Again, that money's likely still in the budget.
Yeah.
It's just they're going to want to wait until the game looks really good.
Apparently, there have been two sets of patches released for it already.
Good for that.
So,
It makes me feel like, if the case is, yeah, you have a PR budget that has something put aside for sponsored streams, you absolutely now need to hold that money and be like, we want you to do this, but we need you to do it in like a month or two from now or whatever, like that,
Yeah.
when everything's been ironed out, because at that point we're gonna need people to go up and say, yeah, they had a really rocky start, but the game's good now. You're like, they need
Yeah.
people to do
And-
that, so people.
and there's the Cyberpunk or the No Man's Sky comparisons.
And can you imagine being the PR team that has to deal with a CEO who's going around complaining about stuff?
Oh, and also, yeah, that's the other one, is that
You can't deal with that.
having a CEO that does not know when to shut up
Yeah.
is not so good. Anyway, to be honest, I don't know. Maybe there'll be something more interesting, but I'm kind of at the point of being like, okay, I don't really want to beat on Mind's Eye any too much more. Like, it's
Yeah,
like
true.
it's a game that wasn't successful. They tried to do some stuff, it didn't work. For reasons that I'm sure are multitudinous.
Well, and I think what we want too is, like, you don't want somebody's like months and months of work, because I'm thinking of the developers more than I'm thinking of the C-suite, right?
And I'm sure the developers and lots of people, put up all sorts of warning flags.
Yeah.
While they were, when they were, it's like, this game is not ready, or this game,
I have a
it's
question.
never their fault. But
All I've heard about Mind's Eye is all the terrible things. I don't even know what kind of game it is.
it's a GTA style game. Like, it's run around, drive around, do
Oh,
missions. Is the idea. Apparently, the plot is something to do with, like, an AI in the future, possibly.
Right.
You can tell it's super futuristic because
So-
they put a 3 instead of an E.
If this
Yeah.
if we assume the game didn't have all these bugs and everything, but we still keep the CEO's comments, but the game itself runs like it's supposed to, I still see this game just probably getting not negative reviews, but probably just like, meh, GTA is not out yet, but meh.
The review, the things I've seen, the main positive stuff I've seen has been, like, the cutscenes actually apparently look quite good. But yeah, I think it would be without all the bugs and stuff. My impression is that it would be a fairly mediocre GTA clone.
Yeah, so that's not going to be strong for
No,
sales either.
Like, it's not gonna, like, light the house on fire, even if it didn't have all the bugs.
I feel like Jaded Cynic makes the point that I would make. Root of the problem is unskilled executives that don't understand the creative field they're leading a studio in, and I'm like, one of the two CEOs or the president of this studio of Build a Rocket Boy is ex Rockstar executive, not even ex Rockstar developer, like, who wouldn't know how to manage people. It's literally an ex Rockstar executive,
and who worked on the GTA games that everyone likes, like the
Yeah.
GTA 3 till 4 something or 3, like, so 3 in San Andreas and all ones that people really liked.
And so then you can ask yourself a ton of questions. Like, one is, did that game succeed in spite of the fact that that person was at the studio when those things were being made? How much involvement does a studio executive's influence and opinion even matter to the development of the game in the first place, other than just maybe getting in the way and fucking things up?
A lot of that one.
And I think also, managing Rockstar North
Yeah.
to make GTA is a lot different than starting a company from scratch. And like Rockstar North being like one of the largest development studios like in the world and producing, the most anticipated game possibly of all time.
Yes.
Like that, managing that, and presumably a huge team working on it, as opposed to leaving that, doing a startup, even if it's a pretty well-staffed startup, the leadership, the kind of leadership that's required in that circumstance is going to be a lot different,
Then this like little, I say little, but this smaller kind of scrappier team where you're trying to get all this stuff done. It's like, I don't have anywhere near the resources that I need to make this happen.
Maybe part of the problem was wanting to hit that, GTA level of quality,
Yeah.
but not understanding that he didn't have the resources to get it there.
The kind of seasoning that a team like that might need, for example. Hard to say.
Most of the stories I've ever read about game development where things go bad, especially with executives getting in the way, have often been, there are many people who try to tell them that they don't have the resources or they need more things and then don't get them. In fact, didn't we do
Dragon
a story
Age.
about that last week with Dragon Age and the
Mass Effect coming
Mass
in and
Effect
being like, we
team?
need all these things. Dragon Age, we said we needed all
Yeah,
that stuff. How about that, right? Like,
So I don't know. I have a hard time believing that anyone, even in a high level position, doesn't know the thing that they need, because they have people who know that stuff who they seem to either just ignore or think they know better.
And the problem though is that, like, occasionally they're right. Like, occasionally a game will come out and it'll be like, this succeeded against all odds.
yes.
Yeah.
Everyone loves this game. And, and it only, they had this idea at the beginning and it turned out to be a dumb idea. And so they were, they pivoted and they were able to, pull it out and make this amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then so like that becomes like the mythology or whatever, right?
Right.
Instead of the exception to the, like, those guys fluked out.
Right.
It becomes the, like, oh, we can do that.
We always knew this was a thing, and therefore,
Yeah,
because they did it, we can do it too.
It's the hero story spin of, no, I was right and I pushed really hard for this thing and it just happened to work out, which we're going to delete that sentence out of the thing. And I always knew, and it was
And
always
it's,
great, and it happened.
It's the old, like, people love Apple stuff and like, Steve Jobs was brilliant. He was also kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
So if I'm an asshole,
That must mean I'm brilliant.
Yeah.
that must have been the part that was
Yeah.
the tricky part.
And don't forget the fact that it's like,
It's like, no.
Steve was the CEO of that company for many years until he wasn't.
Until he was fired for being such an asshole.
Exactly. and then at some point they were like, and he went off to do his own thing, and they bring him back in, and it's like, okay, because at some point I guess somebody realized that the board or whomever realizes, like, I guess what Apple actually needs is that kind of asshole. Because at least he's an asshole with a singular vision that means something to people, and people are willing to, like, ride or die for this dude. And it's like, I guess that's what we always needed, is not an ex-Pepsi CEO,
But it's like people always, but people sort of take the wrong lessons from these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's and in the other side of the story that Graham added in there was Hideo Kojima.
Right.
And when you have a person, we like to do this as people too. We like to have one person we can look at and be like, oh, they're brilliant. They do all this stuff. And so you always hear about his game. And it's like, he has a lot of people working on his game.
Now,
He's not by himself.
No,
He's directing stuff.
And I would say,
Get
you
that,
know,
but
Hideo Kojima, I would guess probably doesn't know how to make, how to like program games and stuff. From a sort of vision standpoint, it seems like he is pretty much in control of things. I mean,
yes.
I'm sure he collaborates
I feel
with
like
people.
he's got final say on stuff. Which that doesn't mean that like someone doesn't come forward and is like, I have this idea of like tweaking a thing in a certain way that maybe he agrees with. Like we do that a lot here, right? There's projects where someone has a final say because you need somebody to make final decisions.
Right. And then, but yeah. And, you know, and Graham talked about it in this bit, like the headline of, you know, Kojima wants his games to be worse because, or Kojima is deliberately making the game worse because too many people like it. You know, is a funny headline.
It's an overread is what it is. And it's like, oh, that's what I'm going to read into this. So,
and it's especially, you know, we've had a lot of Kojima stuff lately because Death Stranding 2 is coming out and stuff. And so, you know, when combined with some of the other stuff that, you know, especially about the last week we were talking about where he was sad that his really weird ideas couldn't be used because they're not marketable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in this case,
but
he doesn't want to be too mainstream. I believe the whole point of that was I feel like there's some even further nuance to just the idea than like I don't want people to find it appealing right off the bat because I want them to fall in love with it, and that you fall in love with a thing that you don't like at first. I think is probably more like you want someone to start something and maybe see something they don't expect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's some truth in that, but I don't know if he's, and you know, maybe there's the sort of it's like a delicate translation thing or something.
Yeah, because we've got the layer of I don't know if he's saying English on his own or if he's got a translator, and then also language is just hard when you're trying to express an idea, and it's in the beginning.
But the idea that, and I think in a large part, I think probably Kojima could be considered to be has been successful in this kind of thing of making games that even if you don't like them, they're at least interesting.
Oh yeah,
and they kind of stick with you and have memorableness to them. You know, there's a lot of things about a lot of the games that I, you know, like Metal Gear Solid, the Metal Gear Solid games or other Hideo Kojima games that I didn't really like that much. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you remember it. And it's not, you know, he doesn't want to be the GTA clone.
No.
Right. He's like, you know, if people find it too sort of fitting into an already existing kind of thing, then they won't remember it as much.
Let me tell you about a game I will never forget. It involves Mozart. I do not like that game. I will never love that game.
But you remember.
Burning hate for all time.
It's kind of.
I think that's just a trauma response.
It's kind of I think it's a fun idea to think about, like Hideo Kojima being like, oh, people are engaging with this way too easily, and that means that I haven't introduced any narrative friction. Like I haven't introduced anything about the experience that when they see it, they're like, that's a weird looking dude, or I don't like the way that, like, I don't understand why things are going in that direction, or like it's like, I don't think that what he's interested in is like, I need to make the gameplay worse. I need to make the jumps big and floaty, or I need to like that kind of shit, right? It's
not likely.
His focus is like, I need to make the game stylistically or narratively harder to access. I need, you know, it's like going to you can go look at Van Gogh's Starry Night and be struck by the beauty of that piece, right? Mm-hmm. But you can, at a certain level, that is just a bunch of like the way the colors are arranged, evoke a scene that seems familiar to us. But you go look at a Pollock, Like go look at Jackson Pollock's paintings, and you're like, this is a study in color. Or like Rothko, the big red square with like the black. It's hard. I don't know what
So
the
you're
names
talking
of
about
these
like
all are.
thought provoking.
Yeah, but in terms of art, to be like, I want this to evoke a response, and it's like if you go look at a Starry Night, you're like, oh, but that's what that is. That's even if I wasn't told it was a Starry Night, I know that's what it is. Is it's a night where the stars are out, like that kind of idea. But you go look at something more abstract, and then you're like, how am I going to interact with that? And I think that's what he wants. Is it's like I want to make something that has people and characters and like humans in this thing, but I want it to feel like you're bumping up against the edges of
Right.
what's actually believable for these humans to be a part of.
I wouldn't necessarily say that doesn't involve the change up in like a gameplay mechanic or maybe changing the jumping to be more floaty, because I do think the best video games are the ones that can combine the game mechanics with the story.
Sure.
And historically, Kojima games have had, he does integrate mechanics into things.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't want to make. I'm sure he wouldn't want to make a game where it's like, the performance of the controls is unreliable. Like I imagine it's like gameplay needs to feel consistent, unless the whole point of the game is that you're not supposed to feel like you have consistent control over what's going on.
But again, there are points when video games where that stuff happens. It's why you have
Confused or drunk
things where your controller maybe just doesn't always work because of what the character is doing, or the controls go backwards because you're dizzy or whatever.
Yeah. But that's not
There's-
100% of the time either, right? You're not the controls aren't constantly changing for you while you're playing a game. I think people would bounce off a game that was constantly changing control scheme. I don't know, maybe.
I mean, with no reason, sure.
Yeah, you'd hate it if you were playing a rhythm game and all of a sudden the game decided it was going to show you a circle and you had to actually hit square.
I mean,
But there are rhythm games that do that.
Oh,
That's
sucks.
actually part of a challenging thing.
yeah, it's like
It shows you the
if
wrong
it's part
symbols?
of the mechanics,
Yeah. Wow.
mechanics of the game.
There's I can't remember what rhythm game it was. I tried turning it on. There's like a mode you could turn on where it would give you the wrong
Lion
feedback, so that even if you hit the note perfectly, it would say something else like miss or great or whatever. And
Oh, that's
it's
terrible.
It's really distracting.
I hate
so
that.
you have to try to ignore it. But it's also a lot like being in front of a crowd of people who are just booing you the entire time, no matter
Yeah.
how good you're doing. It's really actually a terrible feeling.
You have an unreliable narrator.
That's so horrible. Yeah. But anyway, I just, I don't know. I just when I hear this thing, I imagine Kojima like, and like having like opening his notebook and just having like more fetus question mark with like an arrow pointing to it like
Two fetus?
like how could I make this more disturbing? How about you go inside his mouth and there's a baby there? No, I did that one already. Anyway,
What was our next story?
this story about Dungeon Rampage.
Oh, yeah.
So this is and I saw some people in the comments being like, "Yay, a positive story!" And
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
it's always nice to get a positive
A
story.
lot of video game news is incredibly negative, and all last year was just about layoffs. Every single week there was another, sometimes 4 stories about layoffs or studios shuttering, and so just finding a story that's, hey, this game that I liked as a kid went away and now I have the rights to it and it's back,
and
is a pretty good one.
And people rightly guessed this is a story that Nelson wrote, which is why it talks about Nelson's kid.
Thank Christ, because we didn't point it out at the end, and I'm like, are people going to wonder a little that how does Beej know so much about what's going on with Nelson's and his kids?
Well, because we all live here in the moon base.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't say that I'm familiar with Dungeon Rampage myself, but
neither.
I didn't really play Facebook games back in the day.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's sort of a like a possibly sort of a roguelike, like you just kind of go around and hordes of
given-
guys attack
As a
you
loop,
and
yeah.
you kill
Given
people.
what I know about what Facebook games
Sort
are, especially the psychology behind
Vampire
a lot
Survivors kind of
of Facebook
deal,
games,
yeah.
I'm hoping that whatever they brought it back as maybe has a little bit less of the manipulation tactic of trying to make you play
Oh yeah, this
or whatever. I don't know if the game had that. It's just a lot of like Farmville and the early Facebook games were designed to be just like time wasters and like I think probably microtransaction as well. I can't remember because again, I also didn't really play a lot of those games.
I mean, I think a lot of them were not actually microtransaction based because the monetization was actually built into Facebook itself. Like the idea was to just get you on the page because there was like ads and stuff on the page. And so they would less microtransactions and more like energy and stuff so that you have to keep like coming back at different times during the day. Anyway, but yeah, so there's a whole progression of how he ended up being able to do this. I love the idea of just he had the screenshot of the credits page of the game and then just like went through LinkedIn and tried to contact everybody on the credits page, which is brilliant. And then was able to get in contact with all these different people, and apparently it was just randomly still on a laptop that one of the developers had given to his daughter to play on, which there's so many
stories that are
stories.
like this.
We talk about like video game preservation and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's so many stories where it's like randomly on a laptop or on a hard drive that some developer who left the company 10 years ago had in his attic.
Yeah.
There's like the original source code to some incredibly important game. Please get on. Please.
I promise you,
contact the video game museum.
If you've got
Yes.
a basement full of junk, this is not a good reason to keep that basement full of junk.
No, it's true. Yeah.
But yeah, the other cool thing though, at the beginning of this, there's with the news article that I had. There's a picture of Angelos Mako.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I hope I was getting his last name correct because I thought it was Mako.
Or Mako?
I'm
Yeah,
not really sure.
I know.
It's Greek, so I was like, it's probably set vowels, so I'll just say Mako and I'll hopefully get it right. But
there's a picture of him in the news article that I used in the thing. But of course, Nelson starts out with saying like, at age 7, he da 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 da. But I wanted to show a picture of him, so I put the picture up and it said like caption, this is Angelos Marco, not age 7.
yeah.
He commented on the video.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he said, very funny story. That is actually me at age 7. I had a beard when I was in kindergarten. Or something like that.
That's good for him. It's the long and the short of like going through this, this process of I want to bring this thing back. It is very heartwarming.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice to think that there's like, when you get right down at the part that Nelly wrote in the middle, it's like, look, actual human beings exist at the centers of these companies, working on all these kind of things. And whether or not it was, their original work or that they're willing to work to kind of find a way to bring something like that back. I'm just like, that's really cool that there's still going to be people out there who are like, I worked on this thing, and maybe it was part of the whole Zynga or King video game, like bad psychology, like that kind of thing. It's like, but still at the core of it, I tried to make really pretty art, or I tried to make try to make the control scheme make sense in a way, or I tried to, I was doing my best with what I was allowed to do. And once we unshackle that from the constraints of, it's like playing those fucking mobile ad games. Like Whiteout Survival is like one of those games where it's like you have to hit a bear a whole bunch of time with an axe, then you have to walk all the bear meat over to a thing, and a guy fries it up, and then you walk it over to a cashier. And like I play those when I'm have an ad come up on a game that I'm playing. I will be like, I'm gonna just play this thing for a while to see how I can break the little mobile game stand-in insert thing. But we all know that that's not the real game. That's 10% of the game or 5% of the game. And it's like those moments that they let you play that are like, this is the thing, I get to walk around and I get to hit a bear a bunch and then I get to cook a bunch of meat and like a growth game, right? That kind of idea. It's like, that's the most compelling part, which is why we're not going to let you play any of that shit. We're going to wait until you get through the 95% of all the match 3 horse shit and make it harder and harder and harder so you have to spend more and more money.
I think the big one right now is like an auto battler where it just like goes along and
I did play like a pin removal game where you're trying to like take stuff apart.
Love those.
But you got to do like certain colors of pins in order to like keep going because otherwise you'll fail. And yeah, it adds all the time, which to a degree I don't mind. What I actually started to mind was the fact that there were definitely levels designed for you can't actually get through this level without watching an ad so you can get extra things.
Yeah.
Right. And once you start feeling that,
that's not a puzzle anymore. That's we broke the game on purpose to make more money. And when you can, I mean, this is another reason why though I like Apple Arcade as an idea. When you start to decouple that and be like, we can give you this experience, because I feel like games like that sometimes occupy a space that's like I'm not willing to spend $20 on that game. But what I am willing to do is I do want to pick it up every so often to play that game. And if I could pay $2 for it, it would not be a bad value proposition, except that the company that's making it is like, we can't have 100,000 people download this game for $2 a pop because we can't afford to pay anybody to make this game. So we need to put ads in it because we need to be constantly making money on this game all the time. And we've eroded the idea of what's a game worth paying for, or what's worth paying for a game, especially like just a small experience like that.
Well, and mobile games are specifically seen as things we don't want to pay a lot of money for.
Yeah, because like Balatro, like what is it right now? Is it like $12.99 or something on just if I wanted to buy it on Apple iOS? I could buy it for $12.99. I think you can buy it for a different price or whatever on like Steam but I want to have it on my phone because my phone's always with me and I can drop it and play whatever I want. And it's like, you have to achieve that level of success where you're selling millions of copies.
And $12
and that's only one person.
And $12 is pretty high for a mobile game.
It's incredibly high for a mobile game, but for a game that is like going to give you that much pleasure over a certain period of time, it's like that shouldn't be a bad thing to say. I mean, as coming from a Nintendo gamer, right, who's like, I'm going to spend $80, $90, $100 in a game and not feel so bad about it because I realize I'm going to get 200 hours of gameplay out of Yakuza 0 or whatever. And I'm like,
but yeah, it's the mobile market in particular is not great for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the mobile market's always had issue because like I think, I mean part of it is too that a lot of places know that if they do the live service model or the subscription model or the ad model that they can continue to make money past that, whereas charging a finite amount of money for an app means you never make past that amount.
Yeah.
If you look at a bunch of the Nintendo apps that they've put out, they tried a variety of different things. They've done the loot box system. They've done Mario Run, I think was the only one that you
free to start. Yeah.
That you got a free to start, but you could just pay and be done, except for like Pocket Camp now because how they changed that up. But
that was like because Mario Run was like $20 or something.
Yeah, it was also high.
And everybody was like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah.
And Nintendo was like, "What? That's
what game development costs.
That's what games cost."
You notice they didn't really do that with any of their other apps for the longest time, right?
That's like a cheap game for like I kind of like the way like it almost seemed like Nintendo hadn't done any research or anything. Obviously they had, but but Nintendo was just like, that's what a game is worth to us.
To me,
we don't care.
Watching what apps they put out at the time, that was their research.
Yeah, but it's like we don't care about the market. It's like we don't care what the market says. This is what we say the game is worth, and I don't know. I'm assuming Mario Jump was not considered a success from sales point of view. But
I think it sold decently.
They made reasonably good money because people were willing to unlock it, and I think it's because it was a bit of a novelty to have Mario on your phone. But it didn't do Fire Emblem Heroes numbers.
No.
Right? It was like, I'm sure it made several millions of dollars, Super Mario Run did, but it did not make $1 billion.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's you have this partial thing of we expect a mobile game to only cost a few dollars, or to be free and have this other thing, and anyone who wants to charge only $5 versus having a subscription service or an ad thing is always going to be making money regardless of if any more people download that game. Then
Yeah, you are really fighting an uphill battle.
Like that's.
But yeah. Anyway, speaking of monetization, Marvel Snap.
Yeah.
I mean,
What a pivot.
Yep, it's.
I mean, it's a mobile game
it's a mobile game.
and this latest thing has aggressive monetization,
And it was free to start playing it.
And it's still free.
I understood the basics of the story. There were a lot of nouns.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, what it is that because it's a limited time event, like it's only available for a month or something. People did the calculations, and because you can only play a certain number of times, like every 8 hours or something, it resets. You literally, if you played it on the 8-hour chunks every day for the entire month,
and there are going to be people who
there's literally no way to actually get enough in-game currency without paying to get these things.
I was having major flashbacks while listening to this to Magic Puzzle Quest. Because of not of the like, oh, they were monetizing the shit out of it and making it terrible. I never paid attention to how much anything cost in Magic Puzzle Quest, because I was like, I'm going to play this for free. I'm going to keep playing whatever's I'm going to earn through and generate enough to be able to hopefully earn some, just to keep opening packs and eventually open mythics, because you're just kind of crossing your fingers you're going to do that, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't much in the way of, oh, you'll get this card as a reward. I don't remember a lot of those kind of instances. But the thing that came up for me from this story was 3 little words: sunk cost fallacy. I was like, the sunk cost fallacy, I'm like, do you have that Garfield shirt that has Garfield says you're not immune to propaganda? I'm like, you are not immune to the sunk cost fallacy. We all fall for it.
Oh yeah.
In different ways. And it sucks so bad when you realize that was happening, because I was like, I could stop playing this game anytime I want, but I'm having fun playing the match 3 aspect of it. But
if I'm playing now, I won't be able to keep up with the collection, and I'm already keeping up with the collection.
And that's the sunk cost fallacy. It's like,
right.
well, I can only play so many things in standard or whatever.
Once it goes past the I am enjoying the game into the
I have to maintain my play, otherwise I'm going to lose my status of having the cards that I need to keep playing the game. And it's so hard to say to yourself, listen to what you just said, that you are playing the game in order to maintain playing the game. You're not playing the game in order to maintain having some fun with it.
You know, I know Cameron and other folks who play Destiny will sometimes say, well, I have to go do my chores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have that. We got to do my dailies. And it's like, we say dailies because we don't want to say I have to do my fucking game chores. And at least if you're playing, I'd like to think that, at least if you're playing Paper Magic, or you're playing even Magic Arena, you know you're sitting across from another human. God help us, I hope we're sitting across from another human being in those cases. But at least if you're playing Paper Magic, there has to be a person, and you're like, I'm having a social interaction, and if it's people that I enjoy spending time with, this is the lubricant that allows us to actually have a good time together.
I mean, Arena, I wouldn't really call a social interaction, because you can only communicate through like
GGs.
Yeah, just like 5 things that you could say or whatever. But
that's probably for the best, to be honest.
But if you know somebody who's playing on the thing, you can get on a game chat and you can chat with them when you're playing on Arena or whatever. But yeah.
The other small aspect of this story that slightly annoyed me that Kathleen put in the story, which it's not her fault at all, but it's just a thing that I find personally annoying, is the boiling a frog metaphor.
Oh yes, yeah.
I'm trying to get this. I feel like I want to, every time that's mentioned, I want to make sure that everybody knows that isn't a thing.
Frogs will leave.
the frog leaves the water.
Frogs are smarter than us.
If you put a frog into boiling water, it dies because it's burned to death in boiling water.
So if you put a frog in cold water and you slowly turn up the heat, the frog just doesn't go, well, I'll just keep staying in this because it's
At
nice.
a certain point, it leaves the water.
Because it
it's
realizes
uncomfortable.
I'm too hot. I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do the same thing. We get out of hot water as well.
The
no,
test,
again, I think frogs are just smarter than us.
the initial test they did, or the initial experiment was like, does a frog in hot water jump out if it has a brain? Like the guy removed the brain from the frog.
I see.
And was surprised that it didn't jump out of the boiling water. Anyway.
Oh, so it's like it's less instinctual then. It's more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a
Anyway.
metaphor, we haven't really found anything that kind of cooks the same way, I don't think. The pun was very intentional.
Yeah. It's anyway. That particular, it annoys me because it's like not true in any way. So it's just like, oh well,
If you
do put in the frog in the cold water and then bring it up slowly.
If you have an idea for, if you can suggest a metaphor
another
that actually works.
Another saying for slowly ramping
Yeah.
up the.
I don't even care if it's in Finnish, because God knows the Finns have amazing. Everybody in Scandinavia has incredible metaphors for stuff.
I want something I can pronounce.
There's a great saying in Finnish that is, and it's a lot shorter than when you say it in English, but it's like, it's fine for my dad who married mom, but I have to marry a complete stranger.
What's that supposed?
It means you can't marry your
what's
mom.
that an
Paul.
idiom? For?
The idiom, as far as I can understand, is like I'm in a completely different situation. It's one thing because this is a familiar thing for these people, but for me, it's completely unknown. And it's like, well, it wasn't completely familiar for these people either. They had to marry complete strangers. They didn't know
I
who each
feel
other
like
was.
a
It's a
metaphor-
misunderstanding of the position that you're in.
Or a saying that you have to constantly explain is not a good one.
You don't, because in Finland, apparently they understand that. They know what it means when you say it.
That's fine. I'm saying when you say it, you sound like you have an explanation prepared and that you have to explain this repeatedly.
You did ask me to explain what it meant. Like I had to explain it.
I will say, apparently people do not like that you.
Oh, I know. Finland's not in Scandinavia.
Finland
I'm
is
aware.
Scandinavia.
The whole
okay.
how about the Nordics then? I'll say the Nordic countries is a lot.
No. This is fine.
Because that's
This
not
is
going to
a-
include Denmark now, right?
This is a theme in a lot of shows I'm in. One of the hosts secretly hates chat, and this time it's Beach.
I did read an awful lot of Scandinavia
Sometimes
and the
it's
world.
not secret.
And I know that they
not
just
always
don't
a
like
secret.
it. Phenoscandia. Ooh, I like that. Does that also include Denmark and Iceland and the Faroe Islands and all that too?
Anyway. And then the last story. The collector's edition of Borderlands 4 doesn't come with the game.
It doesn't come with a physical version of the game. It just doesn't.
No, it doesn't come with the game at
Yeah.
all.
I mean, this is-
It's just like a pile of Borderlands merch.
Okay.
Yes, this is the way I want collector's editions to do things, and this is the way that some have.
It's
some
just
games have been doing it.
But it's confusing to discover that if you just want to buy the whole thing, that you're like, oh shit, I need to buy the game too.
Is it?
Well,
I've
'cause if
never
you-
found it that confusing.
I mean, from the point of view of that, up until now, when you say that something is a blank edition, a collector's edition, a deluxe edition, whatever, the assumption is that it's being built around the singular commodity at the center, which is the game. And when you remove the game, it is like I'm buying a merch collection. And I agree with you. I want to be able to buy the single game and realize I like it and then buy the collector stuff.
You want to call it the collector's merch edition or
The collector's
the
upgrade?
pack or whatever? That's fine. That's up to marketing to decide.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Physical DLC?
I look. There's a lot of times where they don't necessarily put out a collector's edition at the same time as
Right.
when they do the pre-order. So you pre-order your game. Yes, I know pre-orders are bad.
It's
Don't
like
get
a
on me.
whatever.
It's like a
but,
collector's upgrade is
Yeah,
pack
it's
is
just
really
like-
what you need. Yeah.
you know, you don't necessarily want to get all of that at the same time because you can't. You've bought the game already. Now what are you going to do with it?
Maybe you can't afford it.
Or
Maybe you don't know if the game's any good.
You don't want a physical game. Maybe you actually do just want your games digitally, but you would like the physical stuff that is a thing. Like there's lots of
Yes.
reasons to do that.
It's when it's presented when you have like the regular game is $70, but and then the collector's pack is like $120, and it's like, oh, $50 more for the collector's pack.
What an
Interesting.
amazing deal.
When in actual fact, the collector's pack is, $50 more from 70, and then you have to pay another 70 on top of that to actually get the game.
I mean, a lot of
So it's sort of hiding the
really
additional price.
like fancy collector's editions of games that come with the games. You are still looking at like $200, $250 for some of them, and those include the games.
Right.
And if you remove the game price from that, that's still like $100 and some for just that portion, right? And if you think about the idea of like, maybe I want to wait for the game itself to go on sale, but I'd like the collector's stuff, so I'm just going to buy the collector's stuff, and that only costs me $100 and something now. And like,
I think it's a presentational thing. Like, I think I can totally see your point that it's nice to be able to get that stuff without having to rebuy the game.
Yeah.
I also personally, I like to play the game of a franchise I've never played before, and then go, oh, actually, yes, I like that. It would be nice to have some of that collector stuff, as opposed to
Tunic.
A game that
Should get
comes
that
out
right,
that is just like, hey, it's Octopath Traveler for the first time, and no one knows, but it has this really cool collector's thing you could get, and like, I don't know any of these characters though. Like,
Yeah.
why would I
care?
Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I found out why I would do that. Oh, they're all gone now.
And it's weird too, because it's like when you break something like that down to, it's just merch, like that kind of idea. It's like, do you want to buy some stickers?
You
It's
say
like,
it so condescendingly.
but it
just merch.
Well, I mean, from the guy who makes the merch for the company.
Except they
it's
don't if they sold it all separately, that would be different though.
Yeah,
right?
and it would feel weird.
Like if they sold it separately and then you could also like bundle things together, that would just be selling merch. But when
Yeah.
they sort of are putting it together in this kind of limited edition thing.
Yeah, because then you're saying, it's like, show off how much you love this IP by buying a collection of shit around the IP. And you can do that, like we've said, you can do that when the IP is well known. But when it's something like Hollow Knight or something like Tunic, and you're like, we know what we think of this maybe from the hype or from the gameplay videos or whatever, but if you've never played it before, how do you know you're a fan of this? And then what happens if you are a huge fan of this and realize, well, now I have to literally buy an entirely different boxed copy of the game so I can get the strawberry with wings, right? That kind of thing. And that's why I love the idea. That's like buying steelbooks and like presentation tins and shit for anime DVDs back in the day. You know, they'd always include the case with DVD 1, and then right, you'd always get the big like the Full Metal Alchemist tin was like, you'd have DVD 1 inside the tin, and it's frustrating because if you didn't know if you liked the show or not, because you hadn't seen any of it yet, but you're like, I hear this is good. Then you end up with this big wart on your
Right.
thing, right? But if you discover the show later and you're like, this thing is really cool, and I would love to have something that looks good, then you spend hours and days on eBay trying to track down the things that let you show off that, oh, I liked this thing and I want to get the special collector's version of it. It's like, it's frustrating for everybody involved, and it would just be more approachable if you could just be like, we have the thing you can get, and then we have the special custom things that slide into it, you know, or the things that slide over it. Anyway, yeah. Anyway,
Hey, let's
surely, yes.
talk
Rams.
about a different game that's coming out.
Oh, what?
Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah, it's next month.
Bonanza.
The Donkey Kong, there was a special Nintendo Direct about Donkey Kong
Yep.
that happened just yesterday, day before yesterday.
They put the word banana with smushed into so many other words during that thing.
Bonanza.
Bananium.
It just got funnier the more they brought up new ones for me.
I didn't know what to expect when watching. It's like, why the hell? I've seen this game. Why would I want to watch this Direct? It was worth it.
And it was,
Though it goes very in depth, so if you're like, I just want to play the game and be surprised by a bunch of stuff, well, you've probably already seen some stuff because fan art's been everywhere, but it really goes probably more in depth than it needs to.
it does look pretty compelling though. Like it looks more like a the level of Mario Odyssey or sort of that sort of as opposed to a kind of like a second tier Nintendo whatever, Mario versus Donkey Kong.
Yes.
Or something like that.
minis,
Like
yeah.
which are good games, but they're not like the full meal deal.
This is a Donkey Kong 64 kind of idea that they're like, Donkey Kong Country, we want that. I mean,
and-
so much Donkey Kong Country music in the show.
music.
And
It's
I
good
mean,
music.
This is the newest entry Donkey Kong has had in what? The last one was from the Wii?
It's been a while.
Like the brand new entry, not a remake, not a
Oh,
re-release.
Tropical Freeze
Because Tropical Freeze is a re-release
for Wii U, or was it for Wii?
for Switch.
There's Tropical Freeze is available for Switch.
Yeah, but it
it's
was
a re-release.
originally
Yeah, but
released
the
on
original,
the Wii
I think
U.
it was on the. Was it? I think it was the Wii.
Maybe it was the Wii. Okay. Anyway.
Anyway,
Like if you've been a Donkey Kong fan waiting,
Yeah.
it's been a long time for you.
Thor Sorkar asks, did they verify the suspicion that the donkey in the game is young Cranky? I don't know if they did. I do know that Cranky Kong is in this game. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
but but yes, although there is this thing that the one of the cool mechanics, spoilers I guess, is that apparently you will be teaming up with a young version of Pauline, aka the New Donk City mayor, aka the girl who's at the top of the thing
In Donkey Kong.
in the original Donkey Kong games, which.
The
I gotta-
timeline makes no sense now.
Well, but
Oh,
also,
no,
but
no.
also it kind of I was gonna say it's like because there's all the fan art of like Donkey Kong and Pauline together, and it's like Donkey Kong as like adoptive father or
Yes.
something, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a
Which-
very big anime trope.
But which really casts the original Donkey Kong games in a totally different light,
Yep.
rather than like this giant
Fay Ray King Kong. thing.
this giant ape stole my girlfriend. It's overprotective father
doesn't
Yeah.
want his daughter dating
doesn't
the-
want his
Well,
daughter
Yeah.
dating a plumber
Family problems.
Yeah.
People get into
or
fights with their
would be a carpenter
parents.
at that point.
Yeah. So the motivation in Bonanza is for that Pauline wants to sing and she wants to get back to the surface world or whatever. So that and Donkey Kong's like essentially going to help her do that. She's going to be part of the whole process, and they're going to take. And it's like I don't care why. I don't care. I have rarely given a shit about timelines when it comes to Nintendo games. And so for this, it's like it doesn't matter to me if Cranky Kong is in this game. And Cranky Kong in the original Donkey Kong Country was actually the original Donkey Kong from the arcade version, and therefore but then Cranky Kong's in this game. So does that mean that actually this is happening before Donkey Kong Country, or is it happening slightly after Donkey Kong Country, but not up to the point where like Mario Kart Donkey Kong shows up?
I
and
bet
like
there's
Mario Kart 8?
You know a lot for somebody who
I
doesn't
bet
care.
there's time travel.
Yeah. It's like I've heard about all this and like it doesn't matter. It has never mattered. It's just super fun to have this big bro little sis kind of thing going on between the two of them, and it's like, yeah, they get along and it's cool and it feels right because she's hanging out on his shoulder and riding along and they're doing stuff, and every time he rolls I'm like, he's going to crush that little girl. Like, but it's fine. She comes out fine. It's like whatever, but it all feels like this is cool and appropriate and okay, and other than the constant singing, which I think is maybe going to like get on the Disney side of my nerves.
Rhythm game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it reminds me when I was a kid, my best friend. You when you're a kid,
Was it
you're
gorilla?
like, what's the like? If you could have this as a pet, what would you want? And my best friend wanted a gorilla as a pet, and I think that's because there was probably a movie out at that time that like had a gorilla in it that seemed really cool
Yes.
or something. And I'm thinking about that now, and I'm like, man, 10-year-old us would have been super excited about this game because it basically would have been his dream come true.
Yeah.
Nice.
It looks very neat. I didn't think we'd be getting it. I think we're probably getting it, right?
I mean, I was already pretty on board
You're
with
on
getting
board.
it.
I didn't know if I
prior-
was going to play it, I guess. is
prior
what I
to
should
the
say.
thing
Yeah.
because the idea of going around and smashing everything seemed like it was fun.
Yes. That's
And now
right.
they're like, hey, there's actually story and other stuff that also seems fun and skills trees and bullshit. And I'm like, yeah.
Speaking,
I mean, you didn't have to sell me any more on it, but I'm here for it.
Speaking of big monkey smashing things, you should check out Heather and I playing Split Fiction. Because last week, my character could turn into a big monkey and smash things.
Yeah, those are
It
up
was
on
great.
YouTube now, episodes 1 and 2. YouTube.com/loadingreadylive.
It was great. And there's also the Monkey King, who's like a cool
yeah.
disco dancing monkey.
That didn't have as much rhythm game elements to it as I was kind of hoping for.
It had enough for me. In the sense that there wasn't very much.
It was more Simon Says.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we'll hopefully we'll get into more Donkey Kong stuff when that comes out. Speaking of things coming out, the next Xbox, the next box, has Microsoft has been kind of low, or has been kind of like downplaying the Xbox lately.
Successor or the current Xbox?
Even the current Xbox.
Okay.
Like they haven't really been like talking up the Xbox lately.
Right.
They basically dropped all the Xbox, like there's no Xbox exclusives anymore. Like almost anything that's available for Xbox. I mean, anything available for Xbox is almost always available for PC.
Yeah.
And even that, they've started to like things that were previously going to be Xbox exclusives are now coming out on PlayStation and stuff too.
Yeah.
Microsoft has basically decided to be like, you know what? We own EA. We're making more money if we just sell more games.
Yeah. Yeah.
And part of that, and so they just did a presentation or released a video of the head of Xbox talking about the next Xbox thing. And while she was sort of circumspect about it, people reading between the lines a bit and seeing the stuff she talked about, she talked about the sort of the Xbox family. And of course, they just released a mobile.
The Asus ROG Ally Xbox.
Right. And what's important about that is it is Xbox.
Yes.
Xbox branding is there.
Yep.
But it's a Windows device, or it's you're running a special stripped down version of Windows.
Yeah, it has a special Xbox full screen experience for when you want to play games, but it is literally running Windows in the back end, not such of Xbox OS.
And they've been talking about, and in this thing they talk about they do talk about consoles, but also about PCs. But they talk specifically about working with the Windows team and working with AMD for what is it? The next generation of gaming silicon.
Of what?
Gaming silicon. They're working with AMD, so like chips.
It's like could be CPUs, could be
okay.
GPUs, could be an integrated device,
All right.
could be multiple devices or multiple chips. Like
It's just, I don't know. I was waiting for like an extra word.
could be custom processors in some way.
Yeah. But the idea that they and while not saying in so many words, the way this is being interpreted by a lot of people is that the next Xbox is just a PC.
Yes.
That because otherwise it's like a console running Windows.
Right.
And maybe it's something like the handheld thing where it's sort of a stripped down Xbox overlay on Windows. But it does appear that they're going to be, and that like your ROG, whatever it is,
Yeah.
Ally thing, it has the Xbox branding on it. It can't actually run Xbox games. It only runs Windows games.
Right.
Like I said, most Xbox games are also available on Windows.
Yeah.
But that is an important distinction.
Yeah. It is not an Xbox, a portable Xbox. It is
It's a Steam.
It's a Steam Deck clone kind of idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it only plays Xbox games that are available on Windows. It doesn't play Steam games unless you probably hack it. So
Yeah.
It is an Xbox in the fact that it runs Xbox games that are also available for Windows. That's a weird distinction too, all of a sudden. But
Yep.
So anyway, this idea, and they're all about this sort of ecosystem, right? Where they're like, that you won't be locked into a single store. You're going to be more. So we want to make the Xbox a more sort of open PC-like device.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how this actually manifests itself. But
haven't other people tried to do that kind of thing?
Like make a portable PC or make a single target console?
Single target console.
oh, I mean certainly. I mean the Steam
Ouya.
box was the big one.
Yeah.
That came out about
And
10
like
years
the-
ago.
Ouya?
The
Was
Ouya,
that also
Ouya's
trying to
a
do
little
that?
different.
That was a bit different?
yeah.
Yeah, Ouya, because Ouya was just its own console.
Oh, okay.
But like Steam Box was effectively the Steam Deck, but a thing that hooked up to your TV.
I mean, the thing I would...
But at the time the technology and the hardware wasn't quite in place for it to work. I think and I hope that they make that a new Steam Box, that they actually start making Steam Boxes again, because I would totally buy one.
The point with the Ouya, though, is that the Ouya wasn't like a dedicated platform thing. It was running Android ultimately, and it was meant to run Android games.
But it was,
had to support the Ouya.
it was a customized Android.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it gives me that kind of sense of like the Nintendo Switch is every Nintendo console runs a Nintendo game, and it's like, yeah, because it's programmed for this system and it has to run on this system and it has to target this system and it runs on this system. And if you try to take that game to a Sony PlayStation or to anything else, the binary will not run. There's no way to make that work. Same with the PlayStation, right? It's like you load a Sony PlayStation disc into a PS1, it runs. If you try to load that disc into the Wii, it's not going to run, kind of idea. Barring emulators, whatever. Please don't. Let's not get pedantic at the moment. But yeah, that idea of single target console where it's like this thing runs the things that it's meant to run versus this thing is a customized piece of hardware running a generic OS that can have optionally run more things. You could hack it. You could do other things to make it do that. That's what it feels like the Xbox territory is getting into, is like, we're going to make a single target PC. Right, it's a very unusual idea. It's being like, "Hey, this thing runs on the ROG Ally Xbox." Like,
I mean, that's what
that kind of idea.
Like that's what the Steam Deck is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what I like. That's saying like I actually want. I would love a console version of a Steam Deck.
right.
And of course, the people are like, "But that's just the PC." But it's like, no.
It's not.
What I want is a thing that
Steam machines. That's what they were known as.
Yeah.
Right.
What I want is a thing that has as good or better specs than a Steam Deck,
Yeah.
but hooks up to my TV. But also the important part is that your platform is big enough and you've got the specs out there that people are actually targeting. Like if a game doesn't work well in the Steam Deck, Valve makes it work better on Steam Deck if they can.
Yeah.
And there's a little thing like in Steam, games have a little rating as to whether they'll run well on a Steam Deck.
Right.
Like,
And I think they work now.
The Steam console idea is very compelling because
and so I would love if there's that, and there are and there's like hacky ways to do it now even, but it doesn't have that. I want a Switch level of. I just want to sit down and play.
yeah.
But I want to be playing PC games rather than Switch games.
Well, you want to be playing Steam games. You want to be making games through Steam. You like, as if it was on the Epic Store. Steam might not be terribly,
but
given doing that. But yeah.
But I mean, it just opens up a whole range of games, and you can run games.
You
from other
want
places.
was it
And it's-
PlayStation TV? Is that what it was called? The little box that
Steam
was like
Link did this.
that was like the Vita, but it was just
Yeah, there have been attempts, and it's like you can't hook a Steam Deck up to a TV.
yeah, but you don't want the screen and stuff. That,
But it's like-
adds extra cost, right?
And to me, like I would have bought a Switch without a screen too. Like I hardly ever undock my Switch.
Oh,
I just,
lots of people would have.
I just don't like playing Switch like this.
Like this, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like. I like playing on TV. But anyway,
The well, the Xbox thing I think is interesting,
Yeah.
though. Do you think that because they're doing this with the ROG Ally Xbox, where it's like, oh, we're getting Asus to make an Xbox-ish thing, and that's the term Xbox-ish. That it's like, do you think they're going to say that it's like we need you to make appliances, like go to a bunch of different people and be like, this is the Xbox appliance reference spec. If you make your system to the Xbox appliance reference spec, which we can control because it is our product, but we're going to license it out to other people to make their own Xbox appliances. You can make them with screens. You can make them without screens. You can make them with built-in controllers. You can make them with, like, they only take wireless controllers or whatever. It's like, how many different versions of this do you think we see hit the market? Or do you think Microsoft makes an extremely tight control over this, where they're like, we're only going to let like 2 portables and 2 consoles? Or like, what are we going to see?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one. Like, it's the more, I think, it's like, in some ways, the more the better, because it's, means that it's successful as a spec. But on the other hand, it starts adding confusion in the marketplace. So I don't know.
I mean, I think ever since the Switch came out, basically every GDC has had somebody's version of a Switch-like product that is Windows only.
Right. I mean, the Steam Deck is the only one that's really managed to take off in the same.
Well, they're the only ones who made a thing and marketed it. If Xbox does one, they might do better in the sense that if they sell it at stores, more casual shoppers and gamers will buy it. Whereas I think the Steam Deck has only ever been sold online. And I don't know, there's probably a few stores that tried to buy it and sell it at their storefronts, but
I just feel like Valve knows what a Steam Deck or a Steam machine or like all the other kind of, like, they know what their minimum target hardware is. And I feel like Valve really could reach out and be like, we're going to license the Steam Deck reference spec to 2 or 3 very good hardware manufacturers to make specific versions of this. And you have some coming out with like beautiful aluminum cases and some coming out in cheap plastic boxes. And I still think they would make money and it would do okay. I don't know if the Steam Deck market penetration is incredibly high compared to like the Switch, but it doesn't have to be because Steam already has an incredible market penetration anyway.
yeah. I mean, I think I liked the idea of what Xbox was trying to do when they brought out the Series S and X, even though the naming is terrible.
Yeah.
Of like having a cheaper console that is something that more people can afford to buy, but then we also have essentially our already premium.
Yeah,
thing.
sort of bring the Pro out at the same time. Yeah.
Everything's definitely gonna work on both of them forever, and I like what they were going for, but I don't feel like it worked probably as much as they would have liked it to. I think Xbox might be better to have one console.
Yeah.
And one portable.
Yeah.
And not.
It's the danger is definitely
bunch.
to split the market up too much, and then you're never actually getting it. But anyway, we shall see. We shall see. What we won't see is Marathon anytime soon.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
After being delayed for a couple times, and then said that they won't delay it anymore, and in fact has been indefinitely delayed. It was originally they did like an alpha test on it.
Okay.
And people actually got to like play it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that didn't go well.
Well, there was the whole stealing of art.
There was also that.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want a mind's eye situation with this either, though, right? You don't want to release something that turns out has a shit ton of bugs in it.
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not invested in this game in the slightest, so
Yeah.
I don't really mind that they've delayed it. I do think it is harsh to hear that a game has been delayed a couple of times, and you're like, well, that's fine. Video games get delayed.
Yeah.
And then have it be hit a, oh, don't worry, we won't delay it anime. We'll just delay it indefinitely.
Yeah.
is a bit of a jump.
I think from what I can gather, I think they have delayed it and not said when they're saying it's not going to be released on September 23rd.
Right.
And they just haven't given another date. which yes means delayed indefinitely. What I'm saying is that Bungie isn't saying we are delaying it indefinitely.
Right.
Oh, okay.
They just haven't said when it's
We're
coming
delaying
out.
it.
Right.
We don't have a new date for you.
So
Yeah.
those first
Okay.
5 words are doing an awful lot of heavy lifting for the article. Bungie has delayed Marathon indefinitely,
And I mean
and it's like,
that's literally what indefinitely means.
Yeah, we have
but
no-
it has an implication.
It does.
Yeah.
yeah. Because it could mean it's not like they came forward and said it's not like they said we're pulling. Hey everybody, we're pulling the release date and we'll let you know when it's coming out later. They didn't even do that. They just pulled the release date and it's like they're going quiet.
Yeah. They said over the next few months we will continue closed testing to deploy gameplay updates and test new features. So
They're not really quiet, but they're just like this is the situation we're in. That's
Yeah.
all. Okay.
I have to say, so I mean, it's interesting to say they're going to take extra time to focus on 3 areas: upping the survival game aspects with more challenging and engaging encounters and rewarding runs, doubling down on the marathon universe with more narrative environmental storytelling elements, as well as a darker tone that delivers on the themes of the original trilogy, and updating the social experience, including proximity chat, so social stories can come to life. I have to say, as somebody who was a fan of the Marathon series, I did hear, like, independent from this, because like when I first saw I was like, Marathon, holy crap, and then we saw the trailer for it, and I was like, oh, my interest just completely fell off because it's like Marathon. Oh wow, that's such a neat thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're making it into like a squad shooter or something, or like it's
not a single player experience.
no, it's a
extraction shooter.
extraction shooter. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay, so they're just using the name and whatever. I don't care anymore. And then I found it, like I heard like a week or so ago that apparently it has like it does actually have like some deep Marathon lore stuff in it.
Sure.
And so I was like, oh, okay, that's like more interesting. I mean, it's just not the kind of game I want to play. Which
That is
makes
what
me
it comes
sad.
down to ultimately, isn't it? That it's like, I don't care how much extra cool, neat ideas and stuff you put in. If it's just a game style that I don't like playing or want to play,
Oh man.
yeah, then
What
does it matter?
Mungo Dude saying it's another game with the same name as an older game like Prey or Thief.
Oof.
Which
Yeah.
no, well,
Yeah.
well, I was gonna say, I mean, yeah, those are great instances of games that thing. That being said, a marathon game in the style of the more recent Prey game
Yeah.
would actually be kind of awesome.
Okay.
Like that as a basis. Again,
I never played Prey.
I like single player.
Yeah.
Prey, the more recent Prey game was actually like really good.
I mean,
The old
largely,
Prey game was terrible and is rightfully forgotten.
when you make a IP revival like this, the thing to do is you either do a complete reboot of it or you do a proper sequel of it, right? Like it's you either say we're gonna go back and start again with we're hitting a brand new audience of people. It's been 20 years or 30 years or 40 years or whatever since we've done this, so we're launching Marathon again, kind of like they did with Strider. That's such a weird. I just watched a video on Strider for the NES last night, so
Okay, because
that's why it came out of nowhere.
No idea.
That's fascinating to hear why Strider got made, by the way.
Okay.
But it's that kind of idea of like, we're just going to start again. Like we're just going to rip up the roots and be like, it's all the original Marathon stuff that you would remember if you've played it. It's just reimagined in a way that will bring all the new like young kids to the table to want to play Marathon, right? Or you do it as we want to continue the story, we want to build more lore, we want to do all that kind of stuff. What I think is odd about what they said is I know the idea is they're trying to make people feel not bad about, we're going back to the drawing board, not going back to the drawing board, but we're delaying this, we're pulling the release date so we can concentrate on doing more development. And the fact that they have to say, well, we're going to double down on the amount of Marathon lore that's in this thing. And I'm like, was there not already sufficient Marathon lore in the game when you were writing it? Because if not, then you must have fucked up somewhere.
Okay,
Because
okay. Though, like when you have a dev cycle and a time crunch. It's possible they had more lore they would have liked to have added, but they didn't have time. And now that they're pulling and they may have a longer time frame, that's just a focus that they have time for now.
Because but it's that the worry I have when I hear things like that sometimes is scope creep, right? That's like the writer was like, I've got a block of lore that we can't integrate into the game because there's no way to do it. And it's like, well, because we're going to release soon. They said, we're not releasing anymore. It's like, okay, well, but you guys are working on refining all the stuff I wrote. And it's like, yes, but since you're not working right now, we need you to develop more lore and shove it into the thing, and then we'll make more content around that. I'd be terrified as a writer because I'd be like, oh no, because the more stuff that I write for you, that's more stuff you have to integrate into the game somehow, which makes the game even larger and take longer to develop. And my work will never see the light of day. I'm being pessimistic here.
Yes, you are.
Yes. But
it's the I feel like almost there is an aspect of, I don't know, if other people's reaction was similar to mine, the thing of like, marathon, and they do it, and stylistically, like regardless of the actual gameplay, stylistically it also is like a huge departure from previous marathon.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Because it's like this sort of neon aesthetic. It's actually like aesthetically kind of cool.
yeah.
Not like a marathon game. That's fine. Obviously things can change.
Marathon felt an awful lot like Alien in a way, didn't it?
Yeah, it was more in that kind of realm,
Yeah.
like kind of grungy stuff.
Yeah.
But the idea of like the idea that they sort of like made this thing and then they're like bang, put it out there, and everyone's like marathon, and then they like it's extraction shooter, and everyone's like, oh, so there's no like marathon stuff in it. And then they're like, oh, people wanted like marathon stuff in it. Oh no. And like they're like, oh, we better go add some lore.
Yeah.
And it's like, at that point, it's already like, it's sort of too, it's like, you could have like, cutscenes or, an opening text scroll or something. But like if the game is like mostly done already,
It's set, yeah.
then
That
like
doesn't mean they
adding
won't
stuff in
trash a
between-
bunch and have to restart.
I guess
Yeah.
it's fair
That
too.
happens with a lot of games in development. They don't tell you about that generally. You don't typically get a 2-year, hey, we told you Metroid Prime 4 was coming out, and now we have
Jesus.
to restart the process announcement from a
whoops.
group. All you get is this has been delayed. Hey, that thing what we thought was fun turned out it wasn't, so we have to start a lot of stuff over from scratch.
That is a rare privilege.
That is a thing that does happen.
Yeah, it is a rare privilege for a company to be able to say we were working on something and then we shit canned it years into development so we could start again. And I'm like, you don't get to do that often before your company falls apart. And like Duke Nukem Forever, it sounds like they went through hell trying to avoid being anyway. Yeah, woof.
Yeah, our Metroid Battle Royale game wasn't panning out the way we were hoping it would.
In a way, I kind of hope.
So we're changing it to an extraction shooter.
Kind of
So-
hope that Prime 4 ends up being something like that. Because I just want to see what happens.
Socratic method, because I have seen this. Speaking of Metroid Prime 4, have you seen the whoopsie someone did on the ad in the London Underground? Have you
No.
seen? There's an ad.
I saw, yeah,
It says
I
out
saw
now.
something about that.
Oh. It didn't say a date, but it just said
No, it
out
just
now.
says out now.
Oh, no.
Which is probably like a communication screw up.
Yeah.
For PR, there's probably
Believe it has been confirmed to be a. Well, I mean, I guess if it was a mistake, they wouldn't admit it. So maybe.
So somebody had all the PR stuff made,
Yeah.
but they swapped the month and the day because of the way that people do month, day, year in the States, and they do day, month, year in other parts of the world, because people are idiots and they should be doing it year, month, day, because that makes the most sense and is a proper international standard. That's why
very
this
real
happened.
that it's likely there was an
That's
asset
definitely
mix
the
up
problem.
or the wrong thing sent out.
Yeah.
Let's see. One of the more common ones is the Okami cover that had the IGN watermark
that was a good
logo
one, yeah.
on it. There's a number of anime box sets that have had the like really pixelated pictures put in because they weren't given proper assets, so they grabbed whatever. Lots of that stuff happens.
Yeah.
And when you're doing PR for a game that is probably coming out soon, they likely have a mock-up of a thing that says out now for when that needs to go live. Either the campaign started too early, they sent in the wrong picture, these are all things that just happen.
Could you imagine being a Nintendo fan who also works for like the sign production company or something, or the
like,
people who put stuff up, and you see the thing, you're like, holy shit, what? And it's like, yeah, and this is going in the underground next week. It's like, hang on a second, and you do some Googling, and you're like, there was no thing. Can we double check that they got the dates right? Because they didn't announce anything that it was coming out next week. Can we just double check?
You might actually just think a Shadow Drop's happening, though.
For that, it would blow my mind if they decided to Shadow Drop Prime 4.
I mean, we had a direct a couple of years ago where they dropped, I think, it was one of the Metroid games digitally, and then they were bringing out physically a few months later.
Was it Dread? I mean, Dread just kind of burst out of nowhere.
I think it was the remake.
Oh, Samus Metroid, Metroid Samus Returns.
What if the guy?
Prime Remastered.
What if the people doing the poster were like, "Hey, there's an empty place in this poster where the like release date is. What should we put there?" And the person answering the thing was on the phone, and they were like, "No, out now!" Now, and they're like, "Okay, I guess we'll put that on the poster."
Okay. I think you just wrote a crap shot, Paul.
That's really good.
Anyway, unfortunately, as far as we know, as of 3:44 p.m. Pacific time on June 20th, Metroid is not out.
Okay, good to know.
But we'll keep you updated if something changes.
There's still time before the end of the
next
episode.
Couple minutes.
I mean, I kind of assumed that would be. Have they given us a year? Have they said it was this year? Because I would have assumed maybe
I don't even
like
remember
an
a year.
October game or something.
Yeah, I don't remember them even announcing a year for
Yeah.
it.
I don't know now. I'd have to look that up.
Boopity boop boop. I think we just have one more story here.
Okay.
About
Thank you, Socratic.
2025.
2025.
Nexus mods, which you may have heard. I think we've done a couple of stories on them, and they have been involved in a lot of stories because they are the largest source of game mods, basically anywhere.
Okay.
And so they are they've got thousands and thousands of mods for all different types of games. They've been in the center of a couple of controversies in terms of, people making either like mods that put naked people in things, or mods that take away or add settings that maybe should or should not be there.
Right.
Things like that. But anyway, after 24 years that it has been managed by the same person, it has been sold. The main person behind it has sold Nexus mods by the guy Robin Scott, aka Dark One, has sold it on apparently the just burned out on how much effort. It was not sold, it just changed hands. You mean he gave it to people and didn't get any money for it? That doesn't seem very good.
It feels like definitely though feels like a community type thing. Like so I'm going to assume that it went to somebody else.
Well, it went to. They weren't totally clear about who it was being sold to.
Okay.
People dug up some stuff, and it appears that it was being sold to a company called Chosen that does that seems to work with a bunch of stuff. Apparently, he will still be involved with the thing.
Sure.
Now, people obviously with anytime there's
A changing of the guard.
changing of the guard, selling things, people are a little apprehensive that it's gonna all there's gonna be all monetization stuff, or it's gonna go subscription only, or they're gonna claim copyright on all the mods that have been uploaded, or
Right.
something bad is gonna happen. And to be clear, nothing like that has happened, and the new owners have they have now done they did at least a little, they answered like a few questions Apparently, and there's this company Chosen has been involved in sort of doing like NFT crypto stuff, but apparently that is not what they're doing. That's not something that they're going to do for this.
Okay.
So they say. Thoughts about future monetizations. They say monetization is hard and Nexus Mods is a complex platform. What matters most is continuing to support mod authors, delight users, and keep the lights on. We're not changing the core model. No aggressive monetization, no paid mods. If anything, we're aiming at fewer ads, not more. We'll take a community first, listening approach, and we won't compromise what made Nexus Mods special. So, saying all the right things.
Sure.
Who knows?
Easy to say things.
Who knows what will actually happen? But yeah, I think the sort of the larger or the thing of that, that sort of the reason why, or at least part of the reason why this happening was the just this idea that he saying every single day for 2 decades I've been on call, whether it means fixing issues, reading feedback, pushing updates, or getting pulled into the latest bit of community drama. It's been rewarding, sometimes chaotic, often exhausting, and always personal. Somewhere along the way, I forgot to step back and breathe or sleep properly. It's the dilemma of running a major social network. So, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that, fundamentally anything that has comments on it
Yeah.
kind of inadvertently becomes a social network.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it gets big enough.
Yeah, you create a community for people to be at.
He says, the strain of being responsible for the behemoth I have created has taken its toll. The stress of the job has been a regular source of anxiety and stress-related health issues. Realize I'm burning out and I'm starting to have an impact on my life, on my staff, and on Nexus Mods as a whole. So I firmly believe the next best thing for the future of Nexus Mods is for me to step aside, bring in new leadership to steer the business forward with renewed energy, and make the Nexus Mods modding community we all truly deserve.
Okay, so this is operating as a business then too. Like this was Robin's job.
Yeah, I mean, he has a staff. Like their Nexus Mods, it's got ads. There's some premium.
Probably like badges for community members.
Yeah, premium
and stuff.
super shit. It's pretty minor.
Absolutely.
And there's no sort of paid mods and stuff is not a thing.
Yeah.
But it clearly does do a lot of. It does make some money, although I'm sure he didn't get rich off of it.
Staff of 40 people. My God. Oh, I see. You make money off of selling memberships access to VIP download speeds. Okay, interesting. I get it. Obviously, at a certain point, everybody hits a thing where they're like, I just don't want to be involved with the thing anymore in that way. I want to stick around. I want to be part of it.
If you're
whatever.
involved in something 24/7, you're guaranteed to burn out. That is just what happens. If you're at a point where you're like, I think I might be burning out, you've probably already been burned out.
Yeah.
And just be, man, I hate the fact that just because a thing has comments, it has to be a community now. Like that whole phrasing of like, oh, I'm building a community, I'm doing whatever it's not a bad thing to have a community.
Yeah.
But just because of the whole thing we live in with like streamers and YouTubers and people who are trying to make people constantly show up so they can get whatever numbers and they can do whatever, having a community is the best way to have that interaction happening. And it feels really scummy once you start looking at it as a PR.
Well, and as soon as you have comments, then you have to moderate those comments and you have to do all this stuff. And of course, because as we've like I said, Nexus Mods has sort of shown up peripherally in ChillPoint stories before because it is a Nexus. Anytime things that don't necessarily involve Nexus Mods.
Right.
But anytime there is a somewhat controversial mod, there was that Crazy Taxi mod that added Tim Waltz into Crazy Taxi.
Yeah.
Anything like that, anytime there's any stuff like that, through sort of no fault of their own, Nexus Mods is sort of pulled into it, and whether they, they're in the impossible situation if it's like, if there's an objectionable mod, if you take it down, then a bunch of people get mad at you. And if you leave it up, a bunch of people get mad at you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
like you, it's a difficult situation to be in. And I can totally understand why you want to do that. I've definitely loaded up some mods from Nexus Mods, and I hope that it sticks around and doesn't get sold to like friggin' fandom or some bullshit
Yeah.
like that.
Also, there's one of these things too. Like, I did see a comment scroll by. It's like people were mad about I shouldn't say mad, but people were worried that it's like, God help us, whatever you do, don't sell to venture capitalists, and that's what Chosen is.
Sure.
They're a VC firm.
I don't know if they would call themselves that, but they are effectively
maybe
that.
not. But yeah. But so
They work with creators to help them put forward their bloody blah.
What I wonder, what is clear to me is that if you have a bunch of people who are engaged and interested in being a part of a site or a community or those kind of things, you assume that those people must be the best ones to take over the stewardship of something like that you want to be able to say. You have a staff of 40 people, so it's like there's lots of people. Couldn't you have turned around to somebody on staff and said, you know what, now it's your turn to wear the hat that actually does the thing, and then somebody's like, yes, I guess I will do that. But creating that kind of governance where you can have all these people who are a part of the process trying to decide things, and turning around being like, I've been the person who's been in charge forever. Now, how do I take this hat off and say, you get to wear the hat now and make these decisions is incredibly hard. And it's taxing in a way because you start to realize when I'm no longer the one who gets to make the decisions and now I have to give it to somebody else to make those decisions for me. What happens if I disagree with a decision like that is I don't have that kind of role or power anymore. And so I'm sure that would be doubly so if you had a group of people from your community who were like, I'm going to give this to you to operate. And then you realize the community just starts going absolute fuck nuts with it. And you're like, oh, right. I've seen what some people in this community have been like on occasion in terms of community drama and stuff. You're like, I want to avoid putting anybody in charge who's just going to basically run like rampant all over the whole thing. And yeah, I can understand why the thing would be like, oh, here's an external entity that has nothing to do with our company that is interested in looking after this, right?
Although I believe at least a couple of the people involved in this company were already members of Nexus Mods community.
A part of the community
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
So that's probably why they came forward to say we'd like to do it. I could see that being a thing. Yeah.
But
so yeah.
Anyway,
Not to say that everybody in the you guys are great. Like really,
Other communities suck, but you, perfect
Like-
every time.
you're not really self-policing. We clearly have mods for reasons in all sorts of different places, but the amount of care and discretion I think that has gone into choosing mods to operate things, like to kind of look at, to kind of steward what's going on in the chat, but also what's going on YouTube, but also what's going on in Discord. It's like, I think it's a testament to successful communities that if you can find people within who are like trustworthy to be able to be in those roles, that's such a transformative thing. And it sucks that somebody who is like, I'm running this thing and I'm burnt out. It's like, was your team not able to assist in that way of like buffeting that for you? I can't say.
It depends on, like, if he felt he was on call all the time, it could be he didn't have. I mean, this is all speculation, of course, but that could be like, yeah, you have 40 people who aren't doing stuff all the time, so you always feel like you have to do it, or you don't trust enough to let other people handle stuff.
Yeah.
Or it's really easy, especially if you're kind of part of a community all the time, to not get sucked into community drama
That's true.
and then have that on your brain all the time.
Right.
And just to have those things working. When we were doing lockdown and all of our work was at home, it was very easy for me to do work at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
for a thing that's going to take 5 minutes because, hey, it's just going to take 5 minutes and I can do it right now as opposed to later. There's ways to get caught up in that without that being, I don't have support.
Yeah, that's fair. And I hope actually then what that means is I hope that means that our mods, that you're definitely supporting each other too, because that's important also. You guys are great. And I hope that means that you're also there for each other when things are getting tiresome or out of control.
Anyway,
Do we have anything else, or was that it?
that was the last story.
Oh wow, depressing.
Not really. I think, community mods, good for them. We have great mods, and we have a good community who is by and large really good to our mods, I think, too.
Okay, positive note. It just doesn't feel very high energy to me, or
Yeah. Well,
just kind of
sometimes
a lot
it's
of-
heartwarming.
is it?
Sorry, I should have come up with a happier story.
My
for the
heart,
end.
my heart is warmed.
Kittens.
Well, the last time we had to beat those up.
Oh right, no, kittens
Jesus.
are not good.
Can you look up a kitten picture and put it up on screen before we go? Then
No, we'll end up with something AI by accident, and I'm not willing to get.
Kittens with 6 fingers.
like human hands.
Human hand, yeah, human 6 fingers. This has become not wholesome anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on ChillPoint. If you haven't seen the episode of Checkpoint that we were talking about, you should go do that. It's over at youtube.com/LRRVG. It's our video game channel. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it's probably somewhere near this, like in the recommended stuff, if the algorithm is working properly.
Don't bet on that. Just subscribe to the channel.
It's true. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll definitely get it. Probably. You better hit the little bell too, just to be sure. I think that does something.
And also just visit it like once a day or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just have it as your homepage.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching us, and we will talk to all y'all later. Bye.